Hi, welcome to Loft 801. My name is Diego, and today I'm talking about Ridley Scott's 2023 epic, Napoleon, a movie I genuinely enjoyed. 1, I am a sucker for Joaquin Phoenix. 2, I am a sucker for any kind of period piece. This film gave me a lot of what I wanted. Joaquin Phoenix, sweeping battlefield spectacle, and a romance-turned obsession that framed the legend in a way that kept me locked in. I'm aware of the historical liberties, and I'm happy to talk about those later in the review. Quick heads up, this review may contain the occasional minor spoiler, but I'll do my best to avoid them. Napoleon traces Bonaparte's rise and fall through the prism of his volatile attachment to Josephine. The film opens in the sparks and smoke of a revolutionary France and follows Napoleon as he accumulates power, winning more battles and grabbing more titles, while being tethered emotionally to Josephine's approval and presence. That choice of centering a titan of history around a messy, needy, and sometimes petty romance makes the movie feel different from a standard biopic. Instead of great man does great deeds, it feels like a great man can't stop writing letters to the person who really owns his heart, which I thought was both amusing and humanizing. I love that this movie showed me a different perspective on Napoleon by foregrounding his letters. They underlined that again and again, despite the conquests and the empire, Napoleon keeps orbiting Josephine. Sometimes great men are freaks. Structurally, this movie is a highlight reel of decisive moments. Toulon, Austerlitz, Egypt, coronation, and the fall. These are all paced like chapters punctuated by battles and bedroom skirmishes. Napoleon led a full life, and it's not easy to capture all the ups and downs of that life in a 2-hour and 38 movie. While I wouldn't consider this a pacing issue, there are some scenes where some additional extra material would have been nice, or at the very least, some transitional scenes would have been nice. So it makes perfect sense to me that there's an extended director's cut on Apple TV Plus with an additional 48 minutes of footage. I need to hunker down some weekend and watch it all. My understanding is that this additional footage added some additional brutality and extra scenes of Josephine. I'm always game for more of this world. Tonally, Scott frames Napoleon as a man who can marshal armies but can't marshal his impulses where Josephine is concerned. I think about some of the most powerful men in my life, like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, who despite all their money, fame, and power couldn't keep their wives. This movie seesaws between the grand theater of power and a kind of prickly domestic comedy. Coronations and cannonades on one side, letters and jealousy on the other. This contrast gives the film a cheeky, sometimes farcical streak. Again, some of the most powerful men around the world today have some sort of awkwardness and ego to them. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. I found the tone of this movie entertaining, and I don't think it undercut the great achievements Napoleon made. Thematically, the film keeps returning to spectacle as strategy. Napoleon's power is part battlefield math, part optics, staging, angles, entrances, the way you present yourself to the crowd and to history. That's why the love story works as a theme and not just a subplot. He can't control the optics with Josephine. He can't win her like a battle, and that friction exposes him. I've said it before, Joaquin Phoenix is a star. He plays Napoleon as cunning, occasionally petty, sometimes boyish, and often unreadable. An emperor who carries secrets like a shield. I love the way Phoenix lets embarrassment live right next to arrogance. You can see both the mastermind and the man who will write another needy letter. On the other hand, Vanessa Kirby's Josephine is poised, wounded, and strategic. When the movie widens to battlefield scale, you can still feel her gravitational pull, especially in the scenes that track their estrangement and reconciliation. Both Phoenix and Kirby are highlights of the movie. Smaller roles click because they're sketched together with a clean purpose. Advisors who look like they've been stamped from official paper, officers who read as true believers, or opportunists at a glance. It's casting as world building. You trust the court, the staff, the marshals because the faces fit the era. Shot by Darius Wolski, the film is a masterclass in covering scale without losing clarity. He and Scott ran multiple cameras to capture the large-scale action and built shots from period paintings and Scott's own concept drawings. I'm a fan of the crisp work and contrasty light. I love how interiors glow with candle flame textures and exteriors read in clean layers. Whether we're looking at infantry, cavalry, or artillery, your eye never gets lost. It's both beautiful and legible, which is exactly what big battle filmmaking should be. One of my favorite scenes in this movie is Austerlitz. The ice lake sequence is pure cinema. Seeing Napoleon signal the cannons, the ice fracturing, the cavalry and troops plunging into chaos ripples across the frame. I love the practical ambition for this scene. The team literally dug a 30 by 40 meter hole on an airfield to stage the collapse, and I love the visual storytelling. I love that this movie doesn't shy away from violence, whether it's Marie Antoinette losing her head or horses dying. The French Revolution was a bloody piece of history, and I appreciate the raw violence. Apart from battles and violence, the crowded assemblies and halls of power were also captured beautifully. Each corridor, each room said something about status and power. I also loved all the costumes. They're a huge part of why I felt immersed in this movie. All in all, the production and costume design contributed to the film's clarity and swagger. The score was composed by Martin Phipps. It threads classical gravitas with a colder psychological pulse that suits Phoenix's opaque take. What I really dig is how it doesn't try to drown the film in epic. Instead, it sits close to the character, giving edges to pride, jealousy, and drive. One really cool fun fact about the score is that Phipps recorded on a piano that was once owned by Napoleon. It's little details like that which make the score feel haunted by the time period. Before I wrap up my review, I want to talk about the major complaints in this movie because I'm not blind to them. There is historical fudging in this movie. The movie condenses, composites, and sometimes goes for legend over literal. Napoleon didn't shoot cannons at the pyramids. That was purely for spectacle in the film. A lot of people hated that, I didn't. I also understand that some battles were misrepresented, like with Austerlitz. There weren't so many soldiers trapped on the ice. Again, a lot of people hated that, but I didn't. I'm more than willing to overlook historical inaccuracies for a grander scope. The main complaint that I do relate to and I fully understand is that this movie had a bias against Napoleon. It omitted many of his accomplishments like the Napoleonic Code and the Battle of Leipzig. The focus on the romance between Napoleon and Josephine understandably takes away time that could have been used for showing more of his accomplishments, more battles, and more of his leadership abilities. While I enjoyed witnessing his personal flaws, this movie downplayed his achievements, ultimately making Napoleon feel underdeveloped. With that complaint in mind, the only reason that I have for justifying all of this is that I desperately want to see more movies about the Napoleonic era and the French Revolution. Aside from Les Miserables, I don't know of any other big blockbuster movies about this time period. I think there are some movies on Tubi, but I don't really feel like streaming them. I want to see the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars on the big screen in a theater. Studying the French Revolution in my college European history class was awesome. Playing through the French Revolution in Assassin's Creed Unity was incredible. I desperately want to see more of this era, which is why, despite this movie's flaws, I hold it in such high regard. I understand if others don't, and that is completely okay. I'm not here to change your opinions, just explain why I like this movie and my biases. At the end of the day, Napoleon worked for me because it gave me exactly what I wanted from a Ridley Scott epic: scale, swagger, personality, and a version of history that feels alive, even when it's bending facts for drama. Joaquin Phoenix brings a strange magnetic gravity to Napoleon, and Vanessa Kirby meets him with poise. Visually, it's stunning, musically, it's immersive, and as a period piece, it scratches the itch that I'm always chasing. I completely understand the criticisms. Yes, this movie trims achievements, muddles victories, and sometimes paints Napoleon with a harsher brush than he might deserve, but even then, I couldn't help being pulled into the world, the era, and the messy romantic core that makes this take unique. As someone who loves the French Revolution, who loves these uniforms, battlefields, and political fires, I'm just grateful this movie even exists. If anything, it left me wanting more battles, more politics, more Napoleon. If this is the closest I get to a modern Napoleonic era on the big screen, I'll happily take it, and I'll definitely be watching that director's cut. Thank you for listening to my review of Napoleon. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you did not enjoy the content, thank you for sticking around. As always, I would love to read what you have to say, so leave a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Also, if there's something you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know and I will do my best to get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, then you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast, Good Friends. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Diego and I will see you next time.